The moment I realized my father hadn't come to see me was when he skipped saying hello. He walked straight past me, straight toward my son. Liam was laughing near the bounce house, frosting already smeared across his cheek, holding a plastic dinosaur like it was treasure. And my father, who hadn't spoken to me in 14 years, knelt down beside him like he belonged there. "Hey, buddy," he said warmly. "I'm your grandpa." I didn't move. Music played behind me. Kids screamed happily. Paper plates rattled in the wind. Nobody else understood why my entire body went cold. Because to everyone else, he looked like an older man arriving late to a birthday party. To me, he was the man who told a 15-year-old girl she needed to stop being his problem. He lifted a gift bag, smiled like time had erased history, like abandonment expired, like access was automatic. I walked toward them slowly, hearing my own heartbeat louder than the party music. He finally looked up at me, that same calm expression. The same when he wore the night he decided I was optional. "There you are, Rachel," he said casually. "Thought I'd surprise you." I didn't smile, didn't hug him, didn't ask how he'd been. I just said quietly, "You need to step away from my son." His eyebrows lifted slightly, confused, almost amused. And that was when I knew he hadn't come to reconnect. He had come to collect something. I hadn't invited him. He didn't know my address for years. Yet somehow he walked into my backyard on the one day my entire life was visible. How did he find us? Why now? And why did he look confident? Not nervous, not apologetic. Confident people don't come seeking forgiveness. They come expecting cooperation. And something else felt wrong. He wasn't studying me. He was studying the house, the guests, the decorations, like he was calculating value. I remember thinking, he already decided how this conversation ends. I just didn't know yet what he believed I owed him. Before I tell you what he asked for, and why that birthday became the last day he ever held power over me, I want to pause for a second. Please take a moment to like and subscribe. And tell me, where are you watching from today? Drop your city or country in the comments. I always read them. And if you've ever had someone reappear in your life only when you were finally doing well, you'll probably understand what happens next. My name is Rachel Bennett. I'm 31 now. I live outside Minneapolis in a quiet neighborhood where kids ride bikes in circles until the streetlights come on. My life isn't flashy. And honestly, that's the part I love most. I'm a middle school counselor, which probably makes perfect sense once you know my history. Kids talk to me easily, especially the ones who feel like adults stopped showing up for them. I recognize that look instantly. The one where they pretend they're fine because expecting help feels dangerous. My husband, Daniel, teaches high school history. He's steady in a way that once confused me. Reliable people used to feel suspicious. Now they feel like home. We met during a volunteer literacy program. He stayed after everyone left, stacking chairs without being asked. I remember thinking, oh, he's one of those people who finishes things. We married 5 years later. Small ceremony, close friends, chosen family, no drama, no father walking me down the aisle, and I didn't miss it, not the way people expect, because absence stops hurting once you stop waiting. Then came Liam. 7 pounds of noise, curls, and relentless curiosity. Motherhood rewired something inside me. I stopped measuring my worth by who stayed or left. My job became simple. Create a life where my child never wonders if he matters. Our home is loud, messy, safe, Friday pizza nights, backyard chalk drawings, toy cars under every piece of furniture, normal, beautifully normal. And for 14 years, my father had nothing to do with it. One evening before the party, Daniel watched me hang decorations early. "You're over-preparing again," he said, smiling. "I know," I admitted. "I just want it perfect." "It already is." I shook my head. "I didn't get birthdays like this growing up." He paused, softer now. "You're giving Liam what you needed." I swallowed. "That's the plan." He kissed my forehead. "And nobody gets to mess with that." I believed him, I truly did. Which is why what happened next felt unreal. 3 months before the party, I noticed something small. A notification. A like on an old Facebook photo. From my father, Thomas Bennett. I stared at the screen longer than I want to admit. He hadn't contacted me since I was a teenager. No graduation message, No wedding acknowledgement, no birth congratulations, nothing, but suddenly he was liking photos. One, then another, family pictures, backyard shots. Liam's preschool photo. No message attached, just presence. Like someone quietly testing whether a door was unlocked. I ignored it. 2 weeks later, a cousin I barely spoke to messaged me. "Hey, are you still in Minnesota?" That question sat wrong. I answered vaguely. Didn't ask why. Because experience had taught me something. People who disappear rarely return empty-handed. Still, I never imagined he would show up physically. Especially not at my child's birthday. The party was already loud when the side gate opened. Kids running, music playing, Daniel at the grill laughing with neighbors, Liam shouting about dinosaurs. And then the gate creaked. I looked up automatically, and there he was, older, grayer, but unmistakably him, holding a brightly wrapped gift bag, smiling like a man arriving late, not a man absent for 14 years. For one strange moment, nobody reacted. Life continued around us. That almost made it worse. He stepped forward confidently. "Nice place," he said, like he had helped build it. Daniel walked toward me immediately. He didn't ask questions. Just placed a hand lightly on my back. Grounding, protective. My father extended his hand to him. "I'm Rachel's dad." Daniel didn't take it right away, just nodded once. "We didn't know you were coming." My father laughed lightly. "Family doesn't need invitations." That sentence told me everything. I said quietly, "We should talk over here." He followed me toward the fence, away from Liam. He looked around approvingly. "You've done well for yourself." No apology, no acknowledgement, just evaluation. "I heard you got married," he continued. "Yes, nice house." Silence. He finally faced me directly. I figured enough time had passed. Like abandonment was a misunderstanding. I asked, "Why are you here?" He smiled. "I wanted to reconnect." My stomach tightened, because something about his tone sounded rehearsed, transactional, and then he said, "I also need your help." Help. That word felt heavy, dangerous. I asked carefully, "What kind of help?" He exhaled dramatically. "I'm in a difficult financial situation." There it was, not love, not regret, money. He explained quickly, business issues, bad partners, unexpected debt. Then he said the number, $50,000. I actually thought I misheard. "Excuse me?" "50,000, he repeated calmly. "Just a loan." My brain struggled to catch up. This man had erased me at 15, and now stood at my son's birthday requesting the equivalent of a house down payment. I laughed once. Short, disbelieving. "You abandoned me." He frowned immediately. "That's a strong word." I felt something inside me settle, clarity replacing shock. "You told a child to figure life out alone." He sighed impatiently. "You were difficult back then. You needed independence." Independence. At 15. Near a bounce house filled with children laughing, I realized he genuinely believed his own story. And the worst part, he thought I would agree. "I helped raise you," he said. "That costs money." I stared at him. "You're asking me to repay childhood expenses?" He shrugged. "Families support each other." "I was a child." "And now you're successful," he replied smoothly. "It's your turn." I felt anger rise, then disappear, replaced by something colder. Understanding. He hadn't come back because he missed me. He came because he saw stability, opportunity, access. I said quietly, "You need to leave." He smiled again, confident, like negotiation had just begun. And that was when he made the mistake that changed everything. He leaned closer and whispered, "If you refuse, I may have to pursue legal options." Legal options. At my son's birthday party. The man who erased me at 15 was now threatening to sue me for money he believed I owed him. And in that exact moment, watching children run through sprinklers behind him, I realized something terrifying. He wasn't desperate. He was certain he could still control me. What he didn't know yet was that I had already stopped being the girl he left behind. Legal options. I repeated the words slowly, just to make sure I'd heard him correctly. Behind us, Liam screamed happily as another kid launched out of the bounce house. Someone turned the music louder. Paper streamers fluttered in the breeze. Normal life continued. But inside that small space near the fence, everything shifted. I crossed my arms. You're threatening me? My father shook his head immediately, soft smile returning. Not threatening. Just explaining reality. That's not reality, I said. That's manipulation. He chuckled like I'd said something childish. Rachel, you always were dramatic. I noticed something then. He wasn't nervous. People asking for help usually look embarrassed. He looked prepared. Me, what legal claim do you think you have? Dad, parental reimbursement. Me, that's not a thing. Dad, actually, in some cases, adult children assist parents financially. Me, assist isn't demand. Dad, you wouldn't exist without me. I stared at him. He continued calmly. Dad, I sacrificed years raising you. Me, you stopped when I was 15. Dad, you chose to leave. My chest tightened. Chosen, that word again. Rewritten history delivered confidently enough to sound factual. I realized he genuinely expected me to doubt my own memory. I remember thinking, he didn't come to reconnect. He came to rewrite the past in front of me. And suddenly I understood why he picked a public event. Birthday parties make scenes difficult. Most people won't escalate conflict in front of children. He assumed I'd comply quietly. He still believed I was easy to corner. Daniel approached slowly, carrying 2 sodas. He handed one to me without breaking eye contact with my father. Everything okay? My father answered before I could. We're having a family conversation. Daniel nodded once. Good. Because Rachel doesn't have family conversations alone anymore. The air shifted. My father's smile tightened. Who are you exactly? Her husband. I figured, Dad said lightly. You should probably let us handle our personal matters. Daniel didn't move. She asked you to leave. Dad laughed under his breath. She hasn't said that yet. I looked directly at Daniel. I did, he nodded calmly, then turned back to my father. You heard her. Dad, you don't understand our history. Daniel, I understand boundaries. Dad, marriage doesn't erase blood. Daniel, no. But abandonment does change access. That landed harder than shouting ever could. My father's jaw tightened. He wasn't used to resistance, especially calm resistance. He shifted tactics immediately. He turned back toward me, voice softening. Rachel, sweetheart. I physically flinched. He noticed and ignored it. I know we had misunderstandings. Misunderstandings, I repeated. Yes, you were going through a difficult phase. A difficult phase. I felt anger rise, then something colder replaced it. Recognition. He wasn't asking for forgiveness. He was minimizing history so his request sounded reasonable. You told me to pack a bag, I asked. You were out of control, Des answered. I was grieving Mom. You refused rules, he said calmly. I was 15, Dad. He sighed dramatically. You're still holding on to teenage emotions. That sentence hit harder than anything else. Why now, Dad? Because now you're capable. Me capable of what? He leaned closer. Helping your father before things get ugly. There it was again, not desperation, expectation. Daniel stepped forward slightly. What happens if she says no? Dad's expression hardened. Then I protect my interests. I laughed quietly. What interests? He met my eyes. The years I invested in you. And suddenly everything connected. 8 midpoint realization, the pattern he didn't see parenting as love. He saw it as investment. And investments expect returns. My childhood, my education, my survival, all entries on a ledger. I felt something shift inside me permanently. Not anger, closure. I wasn't dealing with a father seeking reconciliation. I was negotiating with a man conducting business. I asked carefully, what exactly do you think I owe you? He answered immediately. 50,000 now, possibly more later. No hesitation, no shame, pure entitlement. You cut contact entirely. Dad, you didn't reach out either. I was a minor and I did try after that. You were just being dramatic, kiddo, if you could have just apologized. He took a pause. Things might have been different. I blinked. Apologize. For what? He shrugged. For making things difficult. I was a kid, Dad. Kids behave when they're not being understood. And I wasn't even disrespectful. Daniel actually laughed once, not mocking, disbelieving. You're asking her to apologize for being abandoned? Dad turned sharply. You don't understand family loyalty. Daniel replied evenly. I understand accountability. because it revealed his strategy completely. If my pain was childish, then his actions never needed accountability. I asked quietly, "How did you even find me?" He hesitated, just for a second, too small for most people to notice, but I work with teenagers. I notice pauses. "Well, family talks." "Which family?" He waved vaguely. "People keep in touch." My stomach dropped. Someone had been feeding him information, photos, updates, details about my life. I suddenly remembered the Facebook likes, the cousin's message. He hadn't randomly appeared. He'd been tracking my stability, watching, waiting. Standing there, I realized something painful. For years, I had imagined this reunion differently. Maybe he'd regret it. Maybe he'd explain. Maybe there had been circumstances I didn't know, but reality was simpler. He felt justified, and strangely, that freed me, because reconciliation requires shared truth. And we didn't live in the same reality. I stopped arguing. That confused him instantly. My voice softened. "Okay," he blinked. "Okay, yes, let's talk about this properly." Relief flashed across his face. He thought compliance had arrived. "I knew you'd understand," he said warmly. "I'll need documentation," I added calmly. He paused. "What documentation?" "Proof of legal obligation, expenses, agreements. Anything showing I owe you." His confidence faltered slightly. "Well, that can be arranged." "Good," I said. "Have your lawyer contact me." Daniel glanced at me sideways. He knew that tone, strategic Rachel, not emotional Rachel. My father smiled again, reassured, no sign of remorse. "You've always been smart," I nodded, "and careful." "So we're settled." "We're beginning," I replied slowly. "I'll send paperwork," he informed. "Please do," I said. He extended his hand. I didn't take it. Instead, I said, "You should leave now." He hesitated. "But I brought a gift." "For Liam," he said. "It's not necessary." I shook my head gently. "You don't meet him today." His smile flickered. "You're punishing me." "No," I replied calmly. "I'm protecting my child." Daniel opened the gate. My father walked out slowly, clearly convinced negotiations were ongoing. Before leaving, he turned back. "You'll see. This is the right thing." I watched him go, and felt nothing collapse inside me, only clarity growing. That night, after the party ended and Liam fell asleep surrounded by dinosaur toys, an email arrived. Subject line: "Formal notice of claim my father wasn't bluffing." He had actually hired a lawyer. And when I opened the attachment, I discovered something far worse than a money request. He wasn't just claiming financial repayment. He was challenging my past, using a legal document connected to the year he cut me off at 15. A document I had never seen before. I opened the attachment at 11:42 p.m. Daniel sat beside me at the kitchen table, laptop light reflecting across both our faces while the house stayed completely still. Liam slept upstairs, safe, unaware, and suddenly that word, safe, became the center of everything. The document loaded slowly. Legal formatting, formal language, attorney letterhead from Chicago, my father's name bolded at the top. Then I saw it. Voluntary Departure Agreement 2009. My stomach dropped. "I've never seen this," I whispered. Daniel leaned closer. "What is it?" I scrolled, and felt cold spread through my chest. According to the document, I had chosen to leave home at 15. Chosen independence. Chosen financial separation. Signed consent stating my father no longer held parental responsibility. I stared at the digital signature. My name, typed, dated. I felt suddenly dizzy. "I didn't sign this." Daniel's voice hardened instantly. "Then someone forged it." And in that moment, the entire story rearranged itself. He hadn't abandoned me. He had legally rewritten abandonment into my decision. Not love. Not reconciliation. Preparation. He came back because he believed paperwork gave him leverage, because greed needs legitimacy. I sat there remembering that night 14 years earlier. The argument, the suitcase, the words. "If you don't like my rules, you can leave." I had cried, packed clothes, stayed with a friend, but there had never been paperwork, never lawyers, never signatures, which meant one thing. He planned my exit long before I understood it. Daniel. He thinks this proves you owe him nothing, and therefore he can demand money without obligation. Me. He erased responsibility. Daniel. And now he wants payment for raising you. I nodded slowly. He didn't come back because he missed me. Daniel's jaw tightened. He came because you succeeded, I whispered, and because he thinks I'm still 15. That was the moment revenge stopped meaning anger and started meaning protection. 3 days later, the first package arrived. No return address, just Liam's name written neatly across the box. Inside, a remote-controlled truck. Expensive. Brand new. Daniel looked at me. You think it's him? I didn't answer. I already knew. The second package came 2 days later. Then another. Dinosaurs, books, video games, each delivery carefully timed. Each gift increasing familiarity, not with me, with my son. Liam ran into the kitchen holding a toy spaceship. Mom, someone keeps sending me surprises. I crouched beside him. What do we say when we get gifts? Thank you. That's right, I smiled gently. But we don't accept presents from people we don't know well. He frowned. But they know my name. I swallowed. That doesn't mean they know your heart. He nodded slowly, not fully understanding. Kids accept kindness without suspicion. Adults learn suspicion through experience, and my father was counting on that difference. Then Daniel noticed something. A gray sedan parked across the street one afternoon, engine running, not moving. The same car appeared 2 days later near Liam's preschool. My pulse spiked. I watched from the window. The driver never exited, never approached, just watched. Daniel stepped beside me. That's him, isn't it? I nodded. He wasn't forcing entry. He was studying patterns, learning schedules, looking for moments when I might soften, or when Liam might become curious. That evening my phone rang. Unknown number. I answered. Silence. Then his voice. Did Liam like the truck? My grip tightened. You need to stop contacting my child. I'm bonding with my grandson. You don't have a grandson. He sighed patiently. You're overreacting. You're stalking. I'm building a relationship. No, I said evenly. You're creating leverage. A pause, longer this time. Then he dropped the mask slightly. You'd cooperate faster if emotions were involved. My stomach turned. He said it casually, like strategy, not affection, and that confirmed everything. I hung up, hands shaking, but not from fear anymore, from clarity. He wasn't trying to reconnect emotionally. He was trying to bypass me through Liam. If the child loved him, I would feel pressure, obligation, guilt. He believed motherhood was my weakness. He didn't realize it was my strongest boundary. Daniel sat across from me at the table. We lock this down, I nodded. No more guessing. Daniel, security cameras, me school notification. Daniel, legal response, me end documentation. We moved calmly, strategically, not reactive, prepared. For the first time, I wasn't the teenager reacting to his decisions. I was the adult setting the terms. 2 weeks later, the school called. My chest tightened the moment I saw the number. Mrs. Bennett, yes, there's a man here asking to pick up Liam. He says he's family. My blood went cold. I stood instantly. What's his name? A pause. Thomas Bennett. Rage didn't come. Ice did. Do not release my child. The receptionist answered immediately. We already refused. He doesn't appear on authorized contacts. I exhaled slowly. Daniel grabbed his keys. We're going. We arrived to find him standing near the office desk, smiling politely like nothing was wrong. Teachers watched carefully. Parents glanced over. He turned when he saw me. There you are. I walked directly toward him, voice calm. You tried to remove my child from school. I was picking him up. You are not authorized. He sighed dramatically. You're escalating things unnecessarily. The principal stepped closer. Sir, we asked you to leave. He turned to her. I'm the grandfather. I spoke clearly enough for everyone nearby to hear. You abandoned me as a minor and forged documents claiming I left voluntarily. You have no legal relationship with my child. The room went silent. Teachers exchanged looks. Narrative shift, public awareness. His confidence cracked for the first time. He lowered his voice urgently. You're embarrassing me, I replied calmly. You embarrassed yourself when you came here without permission. Daniel stood beside me, unmoving, protective presence. The principal nodded firmly. Sir, you must leave now. He looked around, realizing witnesses had formed. Other parents listening. staff observing, authority no longer on his side. He walked toward the door slowly. Before leaving, he whispered, "You're making a mistake. I only wanted connection." I answered quietly, "No, you wanted access." He left, and something final broke between us. Not anger, control. The school doors closed behind him. Everyone slowly returned to normal movement. Teachers resumed conversations. Children laughed down the hallway. But I didn't move, because something about his reaction bothered me. He wasn't angry enough. A man publicly embarrassed, denied access to money, and blocked from his grandson should have exploded. Instead, he looked calculating, like someone adjusting a plan. Daniel touched my shoulder. "You okay?" I nodded slowly. "He's not done." And I knew that with absolute certainty. 3 days later, another envelope arrived, not from his lawyer, from a financial mediation firm. Inside was a single page. No greeting, no apology, just a copied document highlighted in yellow. At the top, Educational Trust Disbursement Record, Bennett Family Account. My breath caught. Daniel leaned closer. "What is that?" I scanned the lines, year after year, withdrawals, large ones, made while I was still living at home, funds allocated under my name, but transferred elsewhere. And then I saw it. The note handwritten beside one transaction, behavioral risk, remove dependency. I sat back slowly. "That's why," Daniel frowned. "Why what?" I whispered. "He didn't abandon me because I was difficult." I turned the page toward him. "He abandoned me because money was involved." We contacted our attorney immediately. Within 2 days, we sat in a quiet downtown office reviewing archived records pulled through subpoena request. The lawyer slid a thick folder across the table. "I think you need to prepare yourself," she said gently. I opened it. Inside was the real version of the agreement, not the forged one he sent. The original Guardian consultation report. And suddenly my entire teenage life made sense. Attorney: "Your mother left a survivor benefit and education fund when she passed." Me: "I knew about a small account." She shook her head. "It wasn't small." My chest tightened. "How much?" She hesitated. "Enough to cover college, housing, and living expenses into adulthood." Daniel exhaled slowly beside me. I stared at the pages. "Where did it go?" The attorney flipped to another document. "Your father petitioned for early control of the funds, citing behavioral instability in the household." I blinked. "Meaning?" "He argued you were becoming financially dependent and needed forced independence." I felt my stomach drop. "He removed me to access the funds." The attorney nodded carefully. "Yes, he didn't cut me off because I was rebellious. He didn't push me out because parenting was hard. He legally positioned me as a problem so he could redirect money meant for my future. My childhood wasn't chaos. It was justification. Every argument, every punishment, every moment I was labeled difficult documentation. "Preparation," I whispered. "He planned it." Daniel squeezed my hand. "He engineered it." And suddenly his return made terrifying sense. The money was gone. He was older, financially unstable. And now the only remaining asset connected to that original fund was me. For 14 years, I believed I'd been rejected. Now I understood. I had been removed. Strategically, cleanly, legally disguised abandonment. And the emotional weight I carried my entire adult life shifted instantly. I wasn't unwanted. I was inconvenient. The shame left my body so quickly it almost made me dizzy. I looked at the attorney. "What happens now?" She smiled slightly. "Now you have leverage." I stopped reacting. No angry messages, no confrontation. Instead, we built a record. Security footage saved. Delivery timestamps documented. School incident logged. Phone calls archived. Financial records compiled. Daniel watched me one night organizing files. "You're calm." "I'm done being the defendant," I said quietly. He nodded. "What are you planning?" I closed the folder. "The truth, publicly, where he can't rewrite it." 2 weeks later, Liam came running inside after playing in the yard. "Mom, Grandpa was outside." My heart stopped. I rushed to the window. The gray sedan drove away. A small wrapped box sat by the gate. Inside, a smartwatch for kids, location tracking enabled. Daniel stared at it. "He's trying to create contact directly." Not gifts, access points. I felt cold clarity settle. This wasn't affection, it was strategy. "Did you talk to him, Liam?" I asked. "Yes, Mom, he's sweet." If Liam bonded with him, court sympathy shifted. Grandparent rights, emotional leverage, legal access. Greed disguised as family. I turned off the device immediately, and that was the moment I decided. He wouldn't control the narrative again. Our attorney arranged mediation, neutral office, recorded session. My father arrived confident, same relaxed smile. He sat down across from me like negotiations were inevitable. "Rachel," he said warmly, "I'm glad you came to your senses." I didn't respond. The mediator began. "We're here regarding financial claims and harassment concerns." My father nodded. "Yes, I'm hoping to resolve family misunderstandings." Then my attorney slid a folder forward. "Before discussion begins, we'd like to review historical financial conduct." He frowned. "What conduct?" She opened the file. Original trust documents, withdrawal approvals, behavioral reports, forgery comparison analysis. The room went very quiet. Dialogue, exposure moment attorney. "Mr. Bennett, can you explain why funds designated for Rachel Bennett were transferred into personal accounts shortly before her removal from the household?" His smile disappeared. "That's irrelevant." Attorney. "It becomes relevant when paired with a forged departure agreement later used to demand money." The mediator looked sharply toward him. My father shifted in his seat. "I was managing family finances." I spoke for the first time. "You managed me out of the house." Silence, heavy, unavoidable. The mediator leaned forward. "Sir, are you aware these actions could constitute financial exploitation of a minor?" His face changed completely. Confidence drained. For the first time since childhood, he looked unsure. Our attorney arranged mediation. Neutral office. Recorded session. My father arrived confident. Same relaxed smile. He sat down across from me like negotiations were inevitable. "Rachel," he said warmly, "I'm glad you came to your senses." I didn't respond. The mediator began. "We're here regarding financial claims and harassment concerns." My father nodded. "Yes, I'm hoping to resolve family misunderstandings." Then my attorney slid a folder forward. "Before discussion begins, we'd like to review historical financial conduct." He frowned. "What conduct?" She opened the file. Original trust documents, withdrawal approvals, behavioral reports, forgery comparison analysis. The room went very quiet. Attorney. "Mr. Bennett, can you explain why funds designated for Rachel Bennett were transferred into personal accounts shortly before her removal from the household?" His smile disappeared. "That's irrelevant." Attorney. "It becomes relevant when paired with a forged departure agreement later used to demand money." The mediator looked sharply toward him. My father shifted in his seat. "I was managing family finances." I spoke for the first time. "You managed me out of the house." Silence, heavy, unavoidable. The mediator leaned forward. "Sir, are you aware these actions could constitute financial exploitation of a minor?" His face changed completely. Confidence drained. For the first time since childhood, he looked unsure. He turned toward me, voice softer now. "You're really going to do this?" I answered calmly. "I already lived through it." He swallowed. "This could ruin me." I held his gaze. "You ruined a child's stability for money." No anger, no shouting, just truth delivered without emotion. That was the real reversal. He expected guilt. He found boundaries. After a long silence, his lawyer whispered to him. Then he spoke quietly. "We withdraw all claims." My attorney nodded. "And cease contact permanently." He hesitated, then signed. Pens scratching across paper sounded louder than anything. 14 years of control ended in a single signature. Family members learned the truth slowly. Phone calls came. Apologies from relatives who once believed his version. People began seeing my teenage story differently. Not rebellion. Survival, but the most important change wasn't public. It was internal. The question that haunted me for years disappeared. Why wasn't I enough to stay? Because staying was never the plan. A year later, Liam turned 7. Same backyard. Same laughter. No unexpected visitors. No parked cars. No hidden tension. Just children running through sprinklers while Daniel flipped burgers. Liam ran to me smiling. Mom, this is the best birthday ever. I hugged him tightly and realized something quietly powerful. Protection is the opposite of revenge. It's peace. My father didn't return out of love. He didn't come back out of regret. He came back because he believed success made me collectible. But children who survive abandonment learn something valuable. Love is presence, not biology, not obligation, not debt. The day I stopped trying to understand him was the day I finally understood myself. And now my son grows up knowing something I learned too late. Family is not who claims you. It's who protects you. I want your honest opinion. If a parent abandoned you for financial gain, then returned years later pretending to reconnect, would you expose the truth publicly? Would you ever allow them near your child again? And do you believe some relationships should stay closed forever? Tell me below. I read every story you share here on Marian Tales. Please subscribe before you leave. It helps reach more people, and thanks for watching.